Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going into a really fascinating and frankly quite challenging story. It's from the 13th chapter of First Kings.
Oh, it definitely is. It throws up so many questions, doesn't it? About obedience, about truth, about consequences.
Absolutely. So let's set the scene a bit. We've got the kingdom divided, right? And King Jeroboam, he's worried about losing his people back to Jerusalem for worship.
Exactly. So he sets up these alternative centers. And the key one for this story is in Bethel, a place with history, sure, but now Jeroboam's using it for, well, fundamentally idolatrous worship.
Right. And the story kicks off with Jeroboam himself, the king, standing right there by this altar he built in Bethel. He's making an offering.
Performing his own invented priestly duties. And boom, into this charged atmosphere walks this figure. The text just calls him a man of God, comes from Judah, sent by the Lord.
And he doesn't exactly, ease into it. No small talk with the king.
Not at all. He immediately cries out against the altar. That's his target.
Ah.
It signals right away this is about the corrupted worship system itself.
And he delivers this prophecy. It's incredibly specific, isn't it?
Astonishingly so. He predicts a future king from David's line centuries down the road. Gives his name.
Josiah.
Josiah, wow. And what's Josiah going to do?
He says that Josiah will come to this exact altar in Bethel and sacrifice the very priests of these high places on it and burn human bones on it. Total desecration.
Burning human bones on an altar. Yeah, that's about as serious a defilement as you can get in that context. It's a direct strike against everything Jeroboam is building there.
It really is. But it's not just a wait-and-see kind of prophecy for some distant future.
No, he backs it up, right, with something immediate.
Yes, a sign. Happening right then, that same day, he says the altar itself will split apart and all the ashes on it will just pour out onto the ground.
A physical sign to validate the long-term prophecy. Like, if you see this happen now, believe the word about Josiah later.
Exactly. It puts the ball firmly in Jeroboam's court. Okay, so how does the king react to this man condemning his altar and predicting its destruction? Not well. Not well at all. He's furious. He points straight at him from the altar where he's standing.
Mid-sacrifice, probably.
Right. And he yells, "Seize him!" He wants this guy arrested, silenced immediately.
But, things don't quite go according to the king's plan.
No. The hand Jeroboam stretches out, it just withers, shrivels up. He can't pull it back in.
Instantaneous. And at the same moment.
The sign happens. The altar cracks, splits apart, ashes spill everywhere, just like the man of God said it would.
Wow, okay, so you've got the defiant hand withered, the condemned altar broken, all happening at once. That must have stopped everyone in their tracks.
You'd think so. It's undeniable power on display. And suddenly, Jeroboam's anger, it just evaporates.
Understandably. His hand is useless, his altar is ruined. What does he do?
He completely changes his tune. The command "seize him" becomes a plea. He begs the man of God, "Please intercede with the Lord your God. Pray for me. Pray that my hand gets restored."
So the target of his anger becomes his only hope for healing. That's quite a turnaround.
It is. And what does the man of God do? Does he say, "Serves you right"?
No, remarkably, he doesn't. The text says he interceded with the Lord for the king. He prayed for him, and the king's hand was restored, just like that. Back to normal.
So a double miracle, really. Judgment and then restoration, both through this man of God's connection to the Lord.
Absolutely. It shows the power extends both ways. So mission accomplished, you might think. Message delivered, sign seen, king humbled, even healed.
You'd expect Jeroboam to be maybe a bit grateful now, or at least cautious.
Well, he tries to show some sort of hospitality, maybe. He invites the man of God home with him. Come home, refresh yourself, have something to eat. I'll give you a reward.
Offers him a gift. It's like a standard gesture, perhaps.
It does, but the man of God's reaction is immediate and absolute, no hesitation.
What does he say?
He tells Jeroboam flat out, "Even if you gave me half your kingdom, half your possessions, I would not go in with you. I will not eat bread or drink water in this place."
Half the kingdom. That's a serious offer he's turning down. Why such a hard line?
He gives the reason immediately. It's not personal preference. It's a direct command. He says, "For this was the command given me by the word of the Lord. You shall not eat bread or drink water or return by the way you came."
Wow. Okay, so 3 very specific rules for this mission. Deliver the message, yes, but also no food, no water in Bethel, and leave by a different path.
Exactly. It seems designed to keep him completely separate from the contamination of that place. No fellowship, no acceptance of anything from there. Total distinction.
Makes sense. So he refuses the king, sticks to the rules, and heads off. Takes a different road home, just as commanded. Seems like a successful, faithful mission right up to that point.
It certainly looks that way. But this is where the story takes, well, a really unexpected and tragic turn.
Okay.
The narrative shifts focus. We're introduced to someone else, an old prophet who lives right there in Bethel.
Old prophet.
Yeah.
Living in the place the man of God just condemned.
Yep. And apparently his sons were there. They saw everything that happened at the altar.
Oh, okay, so they go home and tell their father.
Exactly. They recount the whole story. The man of God from Judah, the prophecy against the altar, the sign, the king's withered hand, the healing, everything. And presumably they mentioned his refusal to eat or drink.
So the old prophet hears all this. What's his reaction?
He seems really interested. He asks his sons, which way did he go? They tell him, and he immediately says, saddle my donkey. He's going after him.
Why? What does he want?
Well, he rides out and finds the man of God. He's sitting under an oak tree, probably taking a break on his journey home.
Okay, so they meet. What does the old prophet say? Does he commend him?
He issues an invitation, almost the same one the king gave. Come home with me and eat.
Wait, after the man of God just refused the king based on a divine command, surely he gives the old prophet the same answer.
You'd think so. And he does. Initially, he repeats the command again. I can't go back with you. I can't eat or drink with you in this place, because the word of the Lord told me. You must not eat bread or drink water there, nor return by the way you came. He states the command, clearly, for the second time.
Okay, crystal clear. He knows the rule. He stated the rule.
Right. But here's the twist. The old prophet doesn't accept that. This is where the deception comes in.
What does he say?
He says, basically, hey, I'm a prophet too, just like you. And then he drops this line. He claims an angel spoke to him by the word of the Lord.
An angel giving a different instruction.
Yes. He says the angel told him specifically to bring the man of God back to his house to eat bread and drink water, directly contradicting the command the man of God received and just recited.
Whoa. So a supposed countercommand delivered via an angel relayed by this older prophet. That puts the man of God in a difficult spot.
It really does. But the text, the original source, gives us, the readers, a crucial piece of information right here. It explicitly says, right after reporting the old prophet's claim.
What does it say?
It says, but he was lying to him. Just like that, no ambiguity. The narrator tells you straight up, this old prophet is making it up.
Wow. The text just calls him out, so the reader knows it's a lie. But the man of God from Judah, he doesn't know that.
Apparently not. Or perhaps he chooses to believe it. Despite the firmness of his original command, despite seeing God's power confirm his own words just hours before, he goes with the old prophet.
He believes the lie.
He does. The text says, so he went back with him and ate bread in his house and drank water. He breaks the command. He eats and drinks in the forbidden place. And by going back to Bethel, he's essentially returned by the way he came, or at least broken the spirit of that command too.
Oh, that's tough to read. Why? Why would we do that after being so strong against the king?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The text doesn't explicitly say why he was deceived. Was he tired, hungry, maybe intimidated or persuaded by the seniority of the old prophet? Maybe the mention of an angel seemed like a higher authority, overriding his initial command?
Or maybe just the lure of fellowship after a hard task. It's hard to know.
We can only speculate. But whatever the reason, he disobeyed a clear, direct command based on the word of someone who, as we know, was lying. It shows how vulnerable even faithful people can be to deception, especially when it comes wrapped in religious language.
And the consequences aren't delayed, are they?
Not at all. Swift and dramatic. While they're still sitting there at the table, eating and drinking in the old prophet's house,
What happens?
the word of the Lord comes again. But here's another strange twist.
Who does it come to? The man of God who disobeyed.
No, it comes to the old prophet, the liar. He now becomes the mouthpiece for God's judgment against the man he deceived.
Wait, the one who told the lie now has to deliver the true judgment. That's incredibly ironic.
Deeply ironic. And he cries out this message from the Lord directly to the man of God sitting across from him.
What's the judgment?
He says, thus says the Lord, because you have disobeyed the word of the Lord and have not kept the commandment that the Lord your God commanded you.
He spells out the disobedience.
Yes, but have come back and have eaten bread and drunk water in the place of which he said to you, eat no bread and drink no water. He makes it absolutely clear what the failure was.
A single act of disobedience against that specific instruction. Not his whole life, but that one failure. And the consequence.
Severe. Your body shall not come to the tomb of your fathers.
Meaning he won't get a proper family burial. He'll die away from home, dishonored in death.
That's the implication, a serious consequence, signifying separation and judgment.
That feels incredibly harsh for, having a meal after doing everything else right. What does that teach us?
It seems to underscore the absolute seriousness of God's specific commands, especially a command directly tied to the mission's integrity, that separation from Bethel. It wasn't just about food, it was about obedience at a critical point. Violating that, even if it seems small, broke faith in that specific test. It highlights that we can't just pick and choose which parts of a divine instruction we follow.
Okay, so the man of God hears this terrible news about his own fate delivered by the man who caused it. What happens next? He leaves the house.
Yes, after he'd eaten and drunk, the old prophet even saddles the donkey for him. He sets off on the road again, and a lion meets him on the road and kills him.
A lion. Just as the judgment implied, he wouldn't make it home. But there's more to this scene, isn't there? It's very unusual.
Extremely unusual. People passing by later find the scene. They see the man's body lying on the road, but standing there, right beside the body,
Yeah.
are both the donkey the man was riding and the lion that killed him, just standing there, together.
The lion didn't eat the body or attack the donkey. That's not normal lion behavior at all.
Not even close. And the text makes a point of this. When the old prophet eventually gets there himself, he observes the scene and the detail is repeated. The lion had not eaten the corpse, nor had it mauled or attacked the donkey.
So it's like the lion was just an instrument. It performed its task, killing the man, and then stopped. No natural predatory behavior beyond that point.
Exactly. It screams divine intervention. This wasn't a random wild animal attack. It was a precise, controlled judgment carried out exactly as needed, confirming the word spoken against the man of God for his disobedience.
Wow. Okay, so people see this strange sight, the body, the lion, the donkey, and they report it back in Bethel.
Yes, they bring the news to the city where the old prophet lived.
And when the old prophet hears it, the one who lied,
He knows immediately. He says, "It is the man of God who disobeyed the word of the Lord. Therefore the Lord has given him to the lion, which has torn him and killed him, according to the word that the Lord spoke to him." He recognizes the fulfillment of the judgment he himself pronounced.
he connects the dots. His lie led to this. What does he do then?
He seems moved by it. He tells his sons, "Saddle the donkey again," and he rides out himself.
To the scene.
Yes, he finds it just as reported. The body on the road, the donkey and the lion still standing by it, the lion having done no more harm.
And then what? This gets even stranger, right?
Yeah, it does. The man who caused his death through deception now takes responsibility for his burial. He picks up the body of the man of God.
A man he lied to.
Yes, puts it on his own donkey, brings it back to Bethel, to his own city, and he mourns him. The text records his lament, "Alas, my brother,"
He mourns him like family and then buries him. Where?
in his own tomb. The old prophet buries the man of God in the grave intended for himself.
Why would he do that?
It's complex. It seems like a mixture of guilt, maybe respect, and something else. By burying him in his own tomb, he's linking their fates, in a way. And then he gives instructions to his sons.
What instructions?
He tells them, "When I die, bury me in the tomb where the man of God is buried. Lay my bones beside his bones."
He wants to be buried next to the man he deceived and led to death. What's his reasoning?
He states it clearly. "For the saying that he cried out by the word of the Lord against the altar in Bethel and against all the houses of the high places that are in the cities of Samaria will surely come true."
So, despite everything, despite the man of God's fatal mistake, the old prophet is now utterly convinced that the original prophecy will happen. He believes the message, even if the messenger failed in one crucial aspect.
Exactly. He recognizes the power and truth of that initial word. Maybe burying himself there is a way to associate himself with that truth, a kind of posthumous alignment, acknowledging the authority he tragically undermined earlier. It's a really complicated response.
It really is. Okay, so while all this drama unfolds with the prophets and the lion, what about King Jeroboam, the guy who started it all? Did seeing his hand wither and the altar split, did any of that sink in?
You would hope so, right? But the text gives a pretty blunt assessment.
Yeah.
It says, "After this thing, Jeroboam did not turn from his evil way. Even after witnessing firsthand divine power and judgment, he didn't change."
He just kept going
Okay.
with the same stuff.
Pretty much. The text says he went right back to appointing priests for his high places from just anyone. Any ordinary person who wanted the job, he'd consecrate them, completely ignoring the proper Levitical requirements, doubling down on the very system the man of God condemned.
So let's contrast this. The man of God, faithful in delivering the message, sees God confirm his word powerfully, but then disobeys one specific travel instruction based on a lie
Hmm.
and faces immediate fatal consequences.
Right.
King Jeroboam initiates the whole idolatrous system, defies the prophet, sees the signs, gets miraculously healed, and then just keeps doing the wrong thing. No lion comes for him in this chapter.
That's the stark contrast the narrative leaves us with. But the text does give the final verdict on Jeroboam. It concludes by saying that this persistence in evil, this appointing of illegitimate priests, this became the sin of the house of Jeroboam that ultimately led to its complete downfall and destruction.
So his judgment wasn't instant like the man of God's, but it was decisive and total in the end, affecting his whole dynasty.
Exactly. It suggests different scales or timelines for consequences. A specific failure in obedience by someone entrusted with a clear mission brought swift, personal judgment. A persistent pattern of systemic rebellion and leading others astray brought a slower but ultimately catastrophic generational judgment.
Wow. This chapter is just packed with these really intense dynamics. The clarity of the command, the subtlety of the deception, the shocking nature of the consequence for the man of God, and then the strange honor he receives in death from the liar himself, all set against Jeroboam's stubborn persistence in sin.
It definitely resists simple explanations. It forces you to grapple with the weight of specific divine commands, the danger of believing falsehoods, even from prophetic sources, and the reality that consequences, while certain, might look very different for different kinds of disobedience.
It really does. It leaves you wondering, doesn't it? What does this stark story tell us about how seriously God takes specific instructions, maybe especially for those he sends? And how does that contrast with the consequences for a more, prolonged and defiant pattern of sin like Jeroboam's? Lots to chew on there.